It's crazy to have my video I just posted be the first thing you hear. Um, Good morning, everybody. My name is Jared. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. Happy Saturday morning, everybody, as we get rolling. Now, every morning when we start the show, the first thing we do is we listen to War. Okay?
All right, boys, let's get this puppy back in.
At least a couple minutes of it. Okay? Got my Stop Ice t-shirt on today. Morning, Bob, Kara, Debs. All right. Drop a little war in the chat. Drop a little war in the chat. Okay. I try not to jam content. I'm not the kind of person to just like post a video multiple times a day. I hope you've seen that. Is that I'm not more than like a time or two a day, right? Felt pretty motivated this morning. I listened to three-time Iraq deployed former lieutenant colonel in the army just absolutely obliterate Donald Trump. Oh shit, been spinning pretty hard. That sucks. Hope you feel better, Bob. What do you mean by spinning? I must have missed something. I apologize. Morning and happy Saturday. Justice's waiting room. A daily podcast discussing news and politics. Live on YouTube and Twitch. Just sharing the show. Appreciate you. And give you something to nom on while I Russia no longer exports but imports petrol, and that's on Ukraine. Okay? So we've been, the way the show is structured is I try to go like world news and then U.S. news and politics, world news and politics, U.S. news and politics, right? Because we live on a planet, right? What's happened outside of our country affects us, right? As a continuation of Ukraine's strategy of disrupting the oil supply in Russia. What's going on in Portland, right? Nothing is going on in Portland. That's I've seen nothing but video of Portland, Oregon the last 3 days, and it's a beautiful fucking city, man. Not at all a war zone. complete abuse of power. Mhm. But perspective is key. He got 200 troops. He asked for 20,000 in LA and 300 showed up. So, of the 200, how many do you think show up? What do you think they're going to do? I think they're going to put their fucking hands in their pockets and do absolutely nothing because they're woefully outnumbered and there's nothing going on. It does. I think that one of the things that I try to do is remember none of this is your fault. You're not the bad guy. This is just what is going on in the world. I can see how it weighs on you though. The weight of the world they call it, right? So if you need to take breaks, that's good. It's good for you to take breaks. But know that regardless of how you feel, it's not on you. So it shouldn't be upon you. Get what I'm saying? Um, I want I think of talking of these things and being aware of them as part of living. That's how I'm not telling you how to live. I'm just telling you how I do it, right? I don't take anything that we talk about and throw it on my shoulders. Now I got to carry it around. What I think of it as being aware of having kind of like a world news, world policy, U.S. policy, U.S. news kind of take on this. It helps you realize, like, first of all, we're not alone, right? It's not just the U.S. versus the world. No. One of the things that recently I've become aware of, they are protesting in Israel as Israeli kids against what's going on in Gaza. I know that you look out and it just seems like it's nothing but awful shit and that it's being cheerleaded. It's only being cheerleaded by the billionaire accelerationists who are hoarding all the wealth for themselves because they think that the world's ending. Um, Dead ass. They think they need all our stuff to fight dragons. Should they be in charge? I'm throwing this out there. Probably not. Probably not. A lot of them have major drug issues. And I'm not talking about marijuana or alcohol or some painkillers. Ketamine and cocaine, as evidenced by the prevalence of it in this administration. hmm So, yeah, it's all about greed. It's all about money. Something seems, to use a word I shouldn't, right? Ostensibly cruel, ostensibly, right? It looks like it's cruel, and that's what hurts. Is because you're like, damn, that's cold. But actually, it's all about money. hmm and in some cases, it's about racism. Like in the instance of Kyron Lacey, hmm? the wide receiver at LSU. Yeah, it's absolutely not the left. Billionaires are unstable drug abusers. Yeah, yep. And keep in mind, here's a big news story. Again, it's not all going to be shitty. Sometimes it's going to be Israel preparing to implement first steps of Trump's deal. Hamas says willing to free hostages. Hamas is ready for a lasting peace, says Donald Trump, though. So you got to understand, think of the source, right? Forgot to share the show. Happens. You just get rolling. Hashtag JWR. And as always, early and often on this show, we say, hey, free Palestine and Slava Ukraine. Maybe we don't put podcast. What if we just put show? So it's not really a show. It's not really a podcast. Isn't it a podcast? Two people. Download or stream from the internet. Similar to a radio show to flexibility to listen to it. So this is a live show that is also a podcast. Huh, interesting. Copy. Of course, I'd ask if you're going to use these sites that we said we weren't going to use, least you could do is like, comment, and share. You know what I mean? I think I have to get rid of. We would be honored if you would join us in order to post it on Twitter. That's not what I did. Not doing it. So interesting. Not that any of you are worried about this at all. Tick, Twitter and Facebook are fucking unusable. Unusable. We're going to talk for a moment what that means. What that means. Okay? What does unusable mean, Jared? When I go to Twitter and I have copied something that I posted somewhere else and I paste it, it does not paste formatting into Twitter. It automatically takes the formatting out. So you have to reformat a post when you're cross posting your content. This makes me remember why Hootsuite doesn't work anymore. Why now they charge for their service. It's because they have to completely restructure your posts between, for example, Blue Sky and Twitter. Okay, so that when I post on Facebook, you can't just paste and post. You have to paste, then choose who sees it, then post it. That delay, that just not being able to create a post and push post, makes it unusable trash. Mm-hmm. Think about if you have to determine an audience before you let something fly, aren't we already fucked? Yeah. Erica Kirk is on Time Magazine's World Most Influential Rising Stars. Going as planned. Going as planned. I think Donald Trump knew he was going to do it to her. All right. Takaichi elected as first female leader of Japan's ruling LDP. Liberal Democratic Party. LDP. Yeah, I only actually scroll Blue Sky, and that's mostly because it's like journalists and doctors and shit. And with all that's going on in the world, I don't want information from people that I don't fucking know who that is and don't trust them. You know what I mean? So just so you know, all that I've changed so far is that now when I post a link to the show on Blue Sky, I'm also posting it on Facebook and Twitter. And we've talked about that, but I'm gonna make sure I talk about it. So when you see new people popping in, it's because I've started to share the show on other uh, sites to help grow the show. And we did this because, like I said, I think that every day this regime tries to escalate upon what they did the day before as a means of continued stress and distraction. Shock and awe is it's an army thing. So if, again, in the Marine Corps, they kind of teach you that it's blunt force and decisiveness and get the fight over with quickly. Where the Army likes to play these fucking dumbass games. So just know that's where this comes from. The whole what was it say? What did Steve Bannon say? We're gonna flood the zone. We're gonna overwhelm them every single day with bullshit. They laid out their plan ahead of time. They told you what they were gonna do. They gave the people in power time to figure out how do you plan against it. And in my eyes, you know what the most brilliant political move of the last, I don't know, year is? Joe Biden. Fucking all them judges. Joe Biden. That speech in front of all those military personnel, remember your oath type shit. Yep. Yeah. Army is fucking bananas. Remember, it's all shock and awe. hmm Ukraine Special Ops. Ooh, baby, that ship is badass. Special Operations Forces strike Russian missile ship en route from Baltic to Caspian Sea. The Czech military prepares to hand over a fleet of modernized T-72 M4CZ tanks to Ukraine. One of the most advanced upgrades of the Soviet-designed T-72M. So what I see and what we've seen in the show are other countries picking up the slack to reinforce Ukraine. Right? That's in my eyes that's the world's front. Poland accuses Russia of attack plot involving explosives smuggled in corn tins. And also, the things you got to think about are the things that happen globally, particularly violent things that happen globally. They tend to also appear here. So I know it'll keep a lump in your throat, but in Israel, we've seen like horrific shit happen, and then it happens here later. And so it's important to keep your eyes on what's going on in the rest of the world because one you learn like the world's fucked up too, but you also see like well the rest of the world's kind of also on our side, right? Trump orders Israel to stop bombing Gaza. So keep in mind the president of the United States has tried to negotiate for Ukraine with Russia without them being there and is ordering the Israeli military around and trying to negotiate on their behalf. Remember, in Donald Trump's eyes, he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, and he stops like 7 wars. And again, they said they wanted a war. They call themselves the Department of War. They they struck another boat off of Venezuela coast, killed 4 people. They killed 4 people in a boat in the Caribbean. And I want to continue to point out that the whole reason is cruelty. Cruelty is the reason. Donald Trump absolutely will spare no life. And all of it is so he can raise RAZE, the beaches, the northern Argentinian shore, so that he can either beach there, meaning like land the military on those shores, and or build a resort there. Absolutely, Gabby. Right. I just want to point out how fucking delusional you have to be like, we're going to change the name to the Department of War. We're going to war in American cities, turn them into training grounds. The war zone in Portland. I'm going to send the military 200 people. 200 fucking people showed up. That is a company. Woefully outnumbered. That tells you how seriously all those generals are taking Donald Trump when they're like a war zone in Portland, Oregon, which by the way is a peaceful city. We're gonna it's the front. It's the new front. 200 guys? Now, if it had been 200,000, you could worry. That's insane. Oh my god. A couple hundred guys. That won't even be 200 people. Because here's the thing. If more than 20 people get hurt, they all gotta leave. Okay? So this means you know it's coming, right? Remember, it's opposite day with these motherfuckers, right? So it's always opposite day. Gabby asked, is it true he hasn't been seen again? Now, as someone that's not a big Donald Trump fan, I don't regularly see him, but apparently he hasn't been seen in a few days. I personally don't go out of my way to see him, but also apparently he's been MIA. I'm sure we'll come across that. Okay, so this is what uh, the military is doing. Okay, so here's what they're saying about the flotilla. I know it's like wildly important to a lot of us. Okay, um, their contention is that, and again, the Israeli police, okay, the Israeli foreign ministry, okay. Keep in mind they're all in line, right? Think about Donald Trump and this regime posting all the Democrats force this shutdown shit. The military is saying like there wasn't aid on any of those vessels. It was all about clicks. That's their contention. From the police to the military to the Israeli foreign defense. Understand, elected officials in that country, like Israel is the place you don't want to live, right? Because all of the government agencies, the military, they're all in line, right? It's police state. That's people talk about like worse countries, worse places to go. Anywhere where they openly kill journalists, right? In the United States, they are deporting one. That isn't going to work out for them. It's just really cruel and unusual, and it's racist mostly. Mhm. See, remember, what I see is Ukraine trying to win a war by taking out your infrastructure and making it so you can't move. Well, here's Russia targeting passenger trains. You see how they have a similar effect, right? We're all fucked up because we're like, God damn, man, they're attacking passenger trains. Ukraine is bombing their fucking oil supply, trying to make it so they can't advance their tanks. So we just talked about how Donald Trump ordered Israel to stop bombing Gaza, right? Here's the Reuters story that says, hey, right after Donald Trump called for them to stop, Israel went ahead and bombarded Gaza. Mm-hmm. Remember, we talked about it's all about the money. Remember Greenland? The Trump administration eyes a stake in a company developing Greenland's rare earths mine. Critical Metal Core, which would give Washington a direct interest in the largest rare earths project in Greenland. And again, I want to point this out. So, this administration is eyeing using your tax dollars to buy a stake in this company. But it's not even Donald Trump's idea. Former President Joe Biden successfully lobbied to have sold to the New York based Critical Metals for far less than a Chinese firm was offering. So Joe Biden is the reason that Critical Metals even has that contract in Greenland. And what is Donald Trump going to do? Ride his fucking coattails. That's what he's going to do. He's going to try to get the U.S. government to use our tax dollars to buy stake in that. No, no, we shouldn't. We shouldn't do that. Understand that the U.S. buying into businesses is awfully communist. I love it. I love their tactics because they don't work and it wakes people up. Like that just stresses. It's just a stressor on people. Morocco rocked by Gen Z uprising. We are the youth. We are not parasites. I saw I saw a video about healthcare costs going up by Warnock from Georgia. I thought it was great. I shared it. But I wanted to expound on healthcare costs. Okay. Um, what I've seen that has me shaken, where I'm like, wait, what? So remember how I told you that I got a buddy of mine that I work with that was in the Navy, and so kind of became buddies, and they live in Las Vegas. Okay, like the Vegas area. Okay, we only get paid, I'd say like 36 thou base pay, and he and I were talking one day about getting paid, like what we get paid, because we get paid pretty good because of our bonuses. Um, I asked him like, how are you able to like pay for a place to live and you keep the lights on and buy groceries with the cost of healthcare? And he told me for 2025, for a family of four, so think husband, wife, they got a toddler and a newborn. Okay, morning squint. I don't know, Gabby. Good question. I don't know that the flotillas were intercepted in international water. Is that true? It's pretty clear to me that they're destroying all the aid so they can say that all these activists and healthcare workers and journalists were just there for the clicks. That's what that was a story we just talked about. Hmm. So as far as I don't know if they were in international water, she said, "Does anything actually happen to Israel?" Well, I don't know that Israel's actually done anything, right? Maybe wrongly imprison, like wrongly capture. And I mean, obviously, it's only a matter of time before they're imprisoned and then tortured and shit. And if that's what you're talking about, then yeah, such a waste of the aid. Yeah, yeah, not having much fun talking about Israel. I can tell you that. Um, what was I? What was I talking about? Oh, about healthcare costs for us. So I got a buddy at work, and I asked him like, how much do you pay a month for your healthcare? And he said, so the checks we get, I get about $200 a check. So that means for this year, for 2025, for a family of four in Vegas, and so I'm giving you the information I can give you without being terribly specific. 1,600 a month for 2025. So imagine what happens when all of that triples. And that's just the premium. That's just how much it costs a month. That doesn't, you they got toddler and infant and a mom that just gave birth. That's what's on the table. So when people ask me like, would you rather have the government shut down or not? And it's like, I would rather have people have to work without pay for a few days so that people don't die. Because I don't know about you. I'm a disabled veteran. I go through the VA. I inconvenience the fuck out of myself and I have to drive a half an hour so that I don't have to worry about healthcare costs for myself. But I told my wife this morning, hey, you probably pay like a couple $100 paycheck for your healthcare. If that goes up to like 2 grand, that's how much you make a month. Just quit your job. 1,000%. It's not even worth it. Because think about the cost of gas, right? The drive to and fro, and then you're effectively nil on how much you get paid. Nothing. There's a reason that I'm like, you know what we could do? We could all have universal healthcare, education, income, and housing. We could tax the fuck out of billionaires like we used to. And again, there's no statute of limitations on violent crime. So if there was loss of life, that's forever, and that's what the Justice Department's for. hmm And so, yep, yep, pay for Israel to have that shit. Which again, big fucking deal that your tax dollars are used to subsidize someone else's healthcare and education and not ours, and that doesn't keep our education costs down. Um, but yeah, so that's one of the things that keeps me protesting is that I am opposed to loss of life, like ending someone's life unnecessarily short just so somebody could get rich. I mean, people wonder why Brian Thompson got dropped, right? Why the lady that was the executive of BlackRock, of there's that person is responsible for the healthcare crisis, or not, the housing crisis. And why you feel nothing. You didn't sit around for days sick to your stomach over that executive. Also, it's the same way you should feel about Charlie Kirk. I'm just saying. He was just a CEO. That was just a school shooting. I don't remember memorials or flags at half staff for any school shootings or CEO shootings. Bob said, supposed to get my meds in 2 weeks. I wonder if it'll even be accessible. Probably be my last dope. Yes. And that's because elected officials get paid like $175,000 a year. And for most of them, that's a pay cut from whatever they were doing or whatever they could be doing. But yeah, I agree. hmm I wouldn't imagine your issues will start until January 1st. So typically, when you enroll in a healthcare plan, that healthcare plan's good for the year. hmm Rohingya Muslims plead for help at the UN to stop the killings in Myanmar. How about this story? Deposed Syrian dictator poisoned under Putin's nose. Poisoned in Russia. What are the odds? Interesting, right? All right, Canadians are warned traveling to the US. They might not be allowed. Yep. Hanging on by a thread. Yep. Marineland says it needs money from Ottawa or its beluga whales will be euthanized. Federal Fisheries Minister blocked Marineland from exporting the whales. Yeah, Marineland is a defunct amusement park in Niagara Falls. If you've never been to Niagara Falls, you wouldn't know about Marineland or Marineland or however the fuck they say it. Marineland planned to send the whales to Chimlong Ocean Kingdom, a theme park in China, but Thompson said she did not want to see the whales kept in captivity or used for entertainment purposes. I would rather them live than die. Can you imagine? And again, I know that it sounds cruel, but think about what I'm thinking about. You're an animal having been discovered by people. You got to live a fucking long life. You were part of Marineland near Niagara Falls. So, like, millions of people came to see you. Now, would I rather you free? That's not the option. Death is the option. Would have been better for you to live your life out in Chimelong. Hmm? Because it's not death. Remember, I told you that life living is that's the thing, right? I know. We want to feel things for these animals. We want to have feelings, and I'm just saying, I'd rather they lived. You know what I mean? I'd rather you not have to put them down. Yep, yep. My issue, Squint, about people taking the violent route is that the Republicans are working fucking overtime to blame Democrats and leftists and liberals and those people that are going to be violent. My fear is that they're taking it out on the wrong person. Yep. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney to meet Trump at the White House next week. Time is up for these old men. Hell yeah. Jesus. Taiwan's 2025 growth projected to be 6 times higher than Korea's. So keep this in mind. Taiwan is our ally. Yep. We live in a country full of fucking morons that put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. Here is Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, decrying AI. Hey, I was going to produce studying data analytics, and AI got infused into my capstone courses. And I realized, like, I don't want an education that is wrought with AI. And here's me patting myself on the back because I would be finishing a degree where they're getting rid of AI departments and companies are just getting rid of AI. There's my worthless degree now. And that would be, by the way, the second time in my life. Isn't that fucking crazy? Originally went to school to be a pilot or air traffic controller. Within 3 years of going to Purdue, the FAA went on a hiring freeze. And then obviously you see all the fuck shit that's happened with pilots in the last and then went to school for data analytics and got cold feet at the end because was staring down, I was looking at my recent education and my professors talking about how AI is a tool in the toolbox, but it is not a tool set. It's just one of the appliques that we will use, but it's certainly not something we're implementing into big business. And one of the things that sticks out in my mind is that my professor at the time had been an executive at AT&T. So this is somebody like a prince in their field, right? Like somebody that's been a C-suite executive for 15 years that said like AI isn't impactful enough. It has a high cost because now you have to have a whole data analytics department. But the AI has a cost. In addition to paying this staff, all who have a 4-year degree plus certifications and code that they write, right? Like, no. Yeah. Pope Leo faces MAGA ire after immigration and climate change remarks. I want to continue to point out there aren't as many of them as you think, and a lot of these websites are bots. A lot of the users on these sites are bots, like Twitter and Facebook, and even TikTok. Bots. That's one of the things. Should I'm finishing getting a degree. So I got a degree in 2012, 2013. I went to DeVry to get a degree in graphic design, but I wanted to focus on project management at the time, because I had a best friend that was his name was Justin. He was an incredible artist, and he was only making like $15 an hour where he worked. And it's crazy to talk about in hindsight, but everywhere we went, so think about being like in your 20s and single and going out to a bar to watch a sporting event or something, or going to a game, or just going to a restaurant. And his art is on their menus. His art's on the door. And I get it. It's like it doesn't mean anything to you, but like he he made the Miller Lite calendar. You know what I mean? Like he did all these crazy projects and got paid dirt. And I had my GI Bill, and I noticed he's not really a salesperson. He doesn't know how to sell himself, right? That he's a natural artist, that he went to the art institute. You know what I mean? And I wanted for him to get paid. You know what I mean? For being an artist. So I went back to school to get a degree in graphic design so I could be like the project manager and him be the artist, right? And I'm pretty good. So we were actually able to start a business and have clients. And I think that when you're as capable as he is, and you feel like that your skill set stands on its own, you're going to see someone like me as someone you can replace. And he decided he didn't even want to be friends with me anymore. Um, my dad told me when I was a kid, don't loan your friends money because the loan will lose itself and the friend. And I also learned don't build your life around the friend. Don't like base your career on working and being friends with this person. Um, you got to do what you were meant to do, right? And uh, I mostly was correct. Like when I went back to school for data analytics and it was a lot of math and shit, breeze. breeze. But like I said, once I started looking into the capstone courses, like the graduate level, the courses you got to take to get the degree, it's like 70, 80% AI slop. Yeah. So I said I'll go back and get a degree in like political science. No, and Gabby, straight up, you know what the most sickening part about all of this is? That just make you, it's just gross and it doesn't feel good. Said he didn't want to be friends with me because I'm not religious. Because I don't believe in God. Yeah. Costco to sell Ozempic and Wegovy at large discounts. And two people from when about the first decade I was home from the Marine Corps. Two people from the south side of Indianapolis. Yeah, told me they don't be friends with me because I'm not Christian. Because I'm not religious. Hmm. Hmm. Debs, what he doesn't know is that I had lined up contracts with businesses to redesign their logos, and I just found a classmate that was a really good artist and parted out the work to them. Hmm. So Minos Enterprises, we made money for a few years, but again, it wasn't something I was passionate about. I went back to school to get a degree because I knew who the best artist in the city was. Hmm. And I felt like he couldn't sell himself. I could do it. Hmm. 100% of the time. Hmm. Fun story about this couple. We're just gonna keep talking, and again, not naming specific names. Uh, but he took me to his parents' house for like the 4th of July one year, and it's a crazy story. His family had a pool in their backyard that overlapped with their next door neighbor's yard, and they shared a backyard. Now, coolest thing in the fucking world. Thanks, Debs. Coolest thing in the fucking world. I thought it was great that neighbors were such good friends that they share a pool, share a backyard space, share a garden, share tools in the shed, right? And they had a daughter that was in love with Justin. And it was plain as day, as bright as the sun does shine. That girl loved him. And I saw it in the first few minutes, and it was so in my face that his parents came and pulled me aside and were like, "You see it too, right?" And I was like, "Oh my God, she's totally in love with him." And they were like, "Yeah, what do you think?" And I'm like, "Hey, you gotta dance with the one that loves you, right?" And like, she cares about him. Like, what the fuck? It's like, what is she, too young? And like, no, we're all the same age. So that was kind of out of the question. And it was just like, and it was because she was imperfect. She had a lazy eye. Cute as a button, but she had a little lazy eye. Um, he wasn't interested in her. I couldn't. It broke my brain. I would be like, I would be around all the time, and you'd have like pool parties, and you know what I mean. So when he decided he didn't want to be friends with me anymore, what do you think he did? Which makes it super Like he courted her. They were they were fucking married, and they got a divorce. He chicken shitted out of that too. Uh, but one of my friends told me he didn't date her because he was ashamed that she had a lazy eye, and I was just like, what? Like Sheila was like starstruck around him, like she was in love with him. What do you mean? And he didn't want nothing to do with her until he decided he didn't want to be friends with me no more, and then he went straight ran to her, and it was like he was ashamed to love her. Yeah. Life is crazy, right? So yeah, when you say dodge the bullet, it's like let me count the ways. All right, Diddleballs sentenced to 50 months in prison. There is no love like Christian love. You goddamn right, Bob. Simi Valley resident gets 8 years in prison for attempting to kill Justice Kavanaugh. I don't even remember that. And by the way, let this be your daily reminder to stop using Google Chrome. Is trash ass shit. Use Opera. One of the things that I can do is when I go to read an article and there's a paywall, they have a reader mode. You can just click a button and it bypasses the paywall and you can read a whole article without having to pay for it. So that's one of the things that hopefully you pick up on this show. The diddleballs. Yeah, P. Diddy. I don't know what it is about Venezuelan migrants. It's about money. It's about oil. I keep having to remind myself of this. The U.S. Supreme Court again cleared the way on Friday for Donald Trump's administration to revoke a temporary legal protection for hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan migrants in the United States, backing a key priority of the Republican president as he pursues a policy of mass deportations. The justices granted the administration's request to put on hold a judge's ruling that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem lacked the authority to end temporary protected status, or TPS, granted to the migrants under Trump's Democratic predecessor Joe Biden while litigation proceeds. The Supreme Court has a 6-3 conservative majority. Its liberal justices dissented. Unconstrained executive power lamented. Yep. You know shit's about to be bad. Here's a Reuters story with the FBI has cut ties with the Southern Poverty Law Center, a civil rights organization that tracks extremist groups after conservatives criticized the nonprofit for including the slain right-wing activist Charlie Kirk's organization on its list of hate groups. And here's that story. Elsie Naomi Barrios was not MS-13 when she was a seamstress. Now she cannot be found. Yep. Remember when we looked at what populations are the smallest in the United States? Venezuelans and trans people. Hmm. So Venezuelans make up less than 1% of the population. So if you ever wondered, it's cruelty. Hmm. And they figure they can get away with it without getting too much pushback. So it's because the rule of numbers, right? They attack trans people because that's the smallest group of people other than Venezuelans. Hmm. Yep. I think we already did this. Yeah, we already talked about this. Let's see. Ooh. I think we've talked about this story, but it is going more mainstream. The scam kingpins who ran a $1 billion criminal empire sentenced to death in China. What? Yesterday on live, where's Nana the Fox News crew, along with ICE, attacked a peaceful protest at Broadway to get their PR video. Local officers put up barriers and designated a protest area. And so a little bit of foreshadowing. A Tunisian man has been sentenced to death on charges of insulting the president and assaulting state security through posts on social media, the head of the Tunisian League for Human Rights and his lawyer said on Friday. The ruling is unprecedented in Tunisia, where restrictions on free speech have been tightened since President Kais Saied seized almost all powers in 2021. The man sentenced, a 56-year-old day laborer, Saber Shushain, is a regular citizen with limited education who was simply writing posts critical of the president before his arrest last year, his lawyer told Reuters. Little Jesus. The Supreme Court is taking a case that would allow more guns in malls and restaurants, because that is exactly what we need. Said no one. Oh, wow. Tyrese Gibson has been booked on animal cruelty charges. His dogs killed another dog. Whoa. Prosecuted for being too corrupt. Ahem, ahem. The answer to your question is yes. Supreme Court justices can be punished through impeachment and removal by Congress or by facing criminal prosecution for illegal acts committed outside of their official duties. However, removing a justice is a rare and difficult process, but under the Constitution, federal judges, including Supreme Court justices, shall hold their offices during good behavior. A justice who commits treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors may be removed through the same impeachment process that applies to the president. Mm-hmm. Remember, Senate then holds a trial, and a two-thirds supermajority is required to convict and remove the justice from office. Historically, only one Supreme Court Justice, Samuel Chase, was impeached by the House in 1805, and he was acquitted by the Senate. They are not immune from federal or state laws for their non-judicial actions. Prosecution is possible, but a criminal conviction doesn't automatically remove a justice from the bench. Only impeachment by Congress can do that. However, it is presumed that a convicted justice would either be impeached or resign. Now, they have judicial immunity. So, justices are granted judicial immunity for lawsuits related to the cases they oversee. So, it protects them from legal action based on their official decisions. So here's congress.gov. Yeah, they can be impeached just like the president, but it takes two-thirds to convict. And so if you think you're getting the Republicans to vote to convict, this is why you need the American Socialist Party. Because if you split it into thirds, right? A third of the elected officials are socialists, a third of them are Democrats, a third of them are the Republicans. Then that means that you'll get your two-thirds. The problem is that the Democratic Party is fractured, the Republican Party is trash, and so it appears like a deadlock, right? But it's really not, because you can't rely on all those Democrats. So that's why you need a third of your people that are elected that are socialists, that are not bought, that are not supported by big corporations, that are not supported by Russia or Israel, who only give a fuck about helping Americans, actually. Yeah, impeach and remove. But again, can't be punished for their decisions. That's judicial immunity. So when you say that, that's why I say we just need to expand the Supreme Court, add 4 seats, all progressive, and have a 7-6 progressive Supreme Court. And then those people will die because it is a lifetime appointment, and they generally don't leave those jobs. Die or get removed. It'll take some time. Oh, major pharmacy chain, Rite Aid. I feel like this is a big deal. Rite Aid, which once sat on street corners across the USA along with competitors CVS and Walgreens, has officially closed all of its locations nationwide. In 2022, Rite Aid operated 2,451 locations just 3 years ago. I didn't know that Rite Aid was struggling. They went the fuck out of business. Hey, look at that straw hat. You know, it never happens in real life. But it happened for these guys. Treasure hunters discover 1 million in silver and gold coins off the Florida coast, known as the Treasure Coast. Remember them, they have to be convicted by 2/3. So there's a reason they haven't even tried, is because as long as they stay mostly out of the public eye, they can't be punished for their decisions. Now, Kavanaugh and Thomas have taken money, right? But you got to prove that it's a bribe, and you got to understand that they're not going to just quit because they get charged. That's the real fear with these motherfuckers, is that they're spineless. You know what I mean? Like they have no shame. So they'll just stick around. Keep hanging around. Hanging around. The education department employees' emails were automatically changed. They were bad people before they were confirmed. Like they committed heinous crimes. Did justices. It's exactly why you. Here you go. Several Democratic presidential candidates are calling for the impeachment of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh after the New York Times published an essay describing alleged sexual misconduct that occurred during his college years at Yale. Kristen Blasey Ford alleged he sexually assaulted her at a house party when they were both teenagers. So it looks like he had a real problem with sexual assault. If you read if you read into that article, and then let's look at Justice Thomas. From Missouri. Here's from The Week, a running list of Clarence Thompson's scandals. Yep, absolutely. So we will. We put up the info we had on him. Okay. Corruptible. If you were wondering, why are these people being chosen? Because they're criminals and they're corruptible. Hmm. Well, if you ever wondered why they blacked out the internet in Kashmir, in Pakistan, Trump orders the military to conduct illegal arrests of American citizens. Can't do that. So they don't even really teach you how to put handcuffs on people in the military. A large fire broke out. El Segundo supplies jet fuel for UA for LA airport. Fire erupted Thursday night. I think we talked about this. All right, let's go to politics. The New Mexico governor, Lujan Grisham, signed a package of bills aiming at shoring up food assistance, rural health care, and public broadcasting in response to recently enacted federal cuts. New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham signed a package of bills Friday aiming, all right, let's see, 17 million to backfill federal credits if they're not renewed. 162 million spent in rural healthcare, food assistance, restocking food banks, public broadcast, and more. New Mexico expects to lose about 200 million annually because of federal tax cuts. Large budget surplus due to booming oil production. Way to step up. Many federal healthcare changes under Trump's bill don't kick in until 2027 or later, and Democratic legislators in New York acknowledge that their bills are only a temporary bandage. Mother Jones. Sex pest Kavanaugh. Yeah. Pretty bad. Trump's ICE has started targeting activists, not just immigrants. Now you notice you don't use Instagram, Threads, Twitter, WhatsApp, Messenger. I don't use those. I don't use Facebook or Twitter either, except to post the link to the show. And that's as a result directly of ICE starting to target unaccompanied children. Al B said, "Good morning, y'all." I always say I'm gonna sleep in, but I have dogs that from 5 o'clock, 5:30 onward are walking on my body as a like get up. So I don't get to choose. Elizabeth Warren is demanding that Donald Trump release the September jobs report despite the shutdown. It's because she knows. She knows how devastating this jobs report is. That controversial ICE raid in Chicago, the feds detained 4 children who are U.S. citizens during the ICE raid in Chicago this week. News says they're gonna start using Facebook and shit to track immigrants. Yeah. Donald Trump believes he has a license to kill. Can he also release Epstein files? Yeah, well, I mean, they're delaying the swearing in of Grijalva, which would be the vote necessary to have the Epstein files released. And Mike Johnson is apparently doesn't care if his Grinder profile gets released or the IP address proving it. Bob said, "Want to sleep in at 3 a.m." Body said, "We're awake." Yep. 57% of MAGA supporters support renewing ACA subsidies, and that's because those people understand that their healthcare costs are going to fucking triple. And that's before you use it if something isn't done about these ACA subsidies. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump's approval rating is underwater in all 7 swing states. I wonder how that could be. Hmm. The whole country went right. Hmm. Hey, I gotta tell this up a bit. Start to list the non-loyalists, people that don't support Trump. Yeah. Yep. This administration is considering minting a $1 Trump coin for the nation's 250th anniversary. Ooh. Yeah, right. Can't wait to see your profile picture on the list. Oh, yeah. Hey, here's the thing. Here's the thing that I've known. Okay, there's a reason I made like subtle changes and I haven't made like big sweeping changes. Like, for example, what I did was because I'm married and I want them to have to work to find out who I am. I uh I changed, like, when you look at my YouTube it says likely alien instead of Jared Malat, right? It's a lot easier to find. You don't even People don't even know how to spell my name, right? But it is the same thing on TikTok. Not because I'm scared, it's because I'm not stupid, right? Why give them a leg up on finding me, right? And obviously hope to stay that way. Again, because I don't post on Facebook, I don't post on Twitter. I'm just putting a link to the show there, right? So shouldn't be on any lists, right? You didn't even know my name. Fucking crazy. And I think they're all traitors. That entire MAGA crowd, the entire Republican Party, and I think the Democrat Party is fractured and has a bunch of idiots in it. You know what I mean? And that's what won't plague the American Socialist Party. And I was thinking about it the other day, and this is big picture shit, we need a world socialist party. Like a worldwide socialist party. hmm Look for that guy on a scooter and his little dog, too. But yeah, I've been tussling with MAGA since 2015, 2016. So if there's a fucking list, I've been on that list. hmm Do you have a streaming schedule for going live? So this is a daily live show where we discuss news and politics, MA Crusher. So I go live every morning at 8 a.m. till about 9:30 a.m. Eastern on YouTube and Twitch. Okay, and we have been for months. RFK Jr. has fired the National Institute of Health vaccine whistleblower Dr. Gian Marazzo. Yeah, because the thing about it is we need world socialists in every country saying the same things, right? That I believe in equality for all. I'm pro union. Join a labor union, right? One of the things that we saw was people are leaving the skilled trade unions and joining general unions like Working America, the union that I joined. hmm Dollywood land is closing down, facing foreclosure. Well, that sucks. Is that what it's called, by the way? Dollywood land? Oh no. Damn. Dollywood owner permanently closes two amusement parks. It's a $5 billion industry. Yeah. Thanks for the heads up on that's crazy. U.S. Senate in deadlock over government shutdown. All right, let's play a little Eat the Rich. Because remember, it's all about money. It's all about money. And when it's not about money and you're like, well, there's not much money there, why the fuck would you do that? It's racism. hmm Pretty straight up and down. So here's Eat the Rich. We will. But yeah, definitely not sending outbound messages with my stream schedule to someone I just met. I don't know you. Now let's check out the weather for today. Could be a doozy, right? Survey says. Okay, okay. Looks like it's up. Fire in the northwest. Okay. Purple, I believe, is. I'm trying to remember what the purple is. Is that freezing rain? I think freezing rain. So in Oregon and Washington and western Montana and northern Idaho, fire. There are storms in the west part of the country. There are storms in the Gulf. Think Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama coast. Some water on the eastern seaboard. Largely, the left half of the right half. Sorry, the right half of the United States is pretty clear. So, winter storm warning: 20 inches of snow in the Montana mountains. Yeah, I can see the snow. There is snow for the first time. It's October in the Northwest. But yeah, all of the weather in the United States is in. Let's see, Washington, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, the Dakotas. Isn't that wild? Like the weather is restricted to this small portion of the country. Now it's obviously going to move east, and we'll all kind of see what happens. But the whole point of finishing on weather is no more surprises, right? Can't be prepared for everything, but a fucking map that every day tells you what's going on.